The views and opinions expressed in the following podcast do not necessarily reflect those of the producers, the affiliates, or digital platforms hosting this podcast. All content is for the purposes of education, conjecture, and at times entertainment. We promote inclusiveness and diversity. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Into the Deep with Jay Costa.
Welcome to Into the Deep. I'm Jay Costa. I am ecstatic about today's guest, one of my dear friends whom I've had the pleasure to actually tour with and share many deep conversations with. He's a phenomenal musician, and some people have known him from bands like Black Label Society, Crowbar, to 58, and now his newest band, Kill the Robot. Today's guest is Steve Gibb. We talk about so much in this episode. We talk about Steve's love of his kids, his love of his dog, his love of his guitar, and just how he loves to create. We talk about what it's like being on the road. We exchange some tour stories, what it's like being in a band, and just navigating life. Steve opens up and is really honest about his journey of recovery, and I just can't articulate how much I love him. So join me as we seek light and journey into the deep with Steve Gibb. Enjoy. Well, I know who you are, brother. For our listeners and our viewers, if you wouldn't mind sharing who you are and what it is you do, my friend.
Well, isn't that the magic question? Who am I? You know, I could answer that a myriad of ways. The truth is that I'm a white man who was born in the United Kingdom. I was born in London, England. My dad happens to be some people's favorite singer, and he's definitely mine. But it turns out a lot of people really dig him. And my mother is an awesome Scottish lady who doesn't take any shit. And I'm the oldest of five. There's four boys, me and my brothers, and then I have a youngest sister. I'm a proud father of two, one boy, one girl, one who's actually going to school in your great state of Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
My son is a 17-year-old artist. My wife is awesome. We've been together over 21 years or something at this point. And mostly I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. I spend most of my time protecting my spirit from the ego that lives inside of me, if that makes any sense. Now, the good news is that if you practice that just like you practice anything, you get really good at it, and it's really not that much work. But it does take a long time to master anything. And, the way I see it, I master getting up in the morning, making a decision about how I'm going to participate in life and what is my mission for the day. Sometimes it's 25 things. Sometimes it's only 3 things. I do my best to do each one of those things as completely and as thoroughly and as carefully as possible. And man, I've been around the block in this crazy world in an interesting body, it's been a great gift. I don't know why my dog is crying about it. Her life's been great, but a little bit about her. She showed up at my front doorstep during the lockdowns of the pandemic, and in short, she saved my life. I was in a very depressed place. We've all lost our livelihoods and everything was terrible, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard a million things and a million people talk about that. And it did suck for everybody. I was pretty depressed. My littlest dog was just about to die, and she showed up on my front doorstep. And she's a beautiful pit bull, and yeah, so I've had her ever since. But I don't know if you're a pit bull lover, but I never had one, and I never really knew much about them. And it turns out they're the sweetest dogs on the planet. Go figure. I mean, I wouldn't mess with them, but I've never met a sweeter dog in my life. Literally, I have to take her, I have to push her away because she wants to love me too much. Hold on, I'll be right back. Come, 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 come. See, this is the baby. Look at this baby. All right, that's my seat. That's my seat. Come here. All right. See, all she wanted me to do was touch her and play with her because I'm not giving her the attention. I'm giving you the attention. But to answer your question, Jay, this is who I am, man. I love my dog. I love my guitars. I love, you know, I love life. You know, I've had a long history of getting in my own way. You know, particularly my 20s, early 30s, teens, elementary school. You know, they were all pretty kind of crazy. And now, you know, you live long enough and you survive, and then if you're fortunate enough to still be in one piece like I am, then you get to live a life of gratitude and trying to be a part of other people's healing. You know, and that's really my primary thing is I try to help other people that are struggling with drugs and alcohol and other addictions, of which there are many in this modern age. You know, and I'm not perfect. You know, I get addicted to my phone too. I get addicted to working out. I get addicted to anything that kind of helps me cope with the experience of being human. You know, but you know, it's like outside of that, man. Getting back to that, what we do is create thing is, I try to create the possibility for people, you know, whether it be, you know, friends, family, or anybody in need, you know, just create the belief that there's a possibility. Like if I could survive all the shit I went through, then surely most people can. And the only ones that really struggle are those that struggle with being honest with themselves, you know? So I'm, and I've been there too, you know, where you just don't know where you are anymore, and you don't know what you can do because you haven't done anything in a long time that made you feel like a human being, you know. So I you know, and mainly, you know, I'm a musician. I'm a musician, and most importantly, I'm a father, you know. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride, you know, but you know, I've, you know, it's funny because you and me had talked a lot in the past about a lot of things we're probably going to talk about today, but you know, creativity is kind of the basis of all life, period. Like it is kind of like people are always, or me, I'll just say me, I'm always looking for the meaning of life. The meaning of life is to be creative. I don't think there's anything else. The meaning of life is you create the meaning. The meaning of life is you create what you want in it. So if your life is shit, then you probably created that, or at least we're a co-conspirator in the creation of that. And the same can be said for a good life, you know. I just, when people ask me what I do, I just say, I don't know. I create. I don't really even think there's a guardrail on anything anymore because it doesn't matter. It's like nobody fucking cares if I create anyway. It's like I care about it. I like to create shit. That's what I like to do. It's not about does anybody want to validate me for my being creative? No. I just figured out that the key to my life is to be creative. Whatever that means. Cooking, you know, helping people build things, like whatever it is, man, you know. Try not to be destructive with your words. I mean, I spend most of the day editing myself, not because I'm afraid of how what I'm going to say is going to affect somebody else, but how it's going to affect me. Like if I'm resonating at that frequency and pushing out that energy of anger or I won't tolerate this or whatever it is. It's like if I have to feel that resentment and that darkness, well then it's in me now, and then it's affecting the way I'm going to do everything now.
Bingo.
So if I'm gonna, it's like how you do the little things is how you do the big things. It's kind of how you do everything. And so, see, like she gets so mad, but I guess what I'm just trying to say is like what, like you could. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about the technology. Like, isn't it? Because of course, naturally, we all want to say about all the terrible things the technology has brought. It's very easy to sit there and think about all the negatives that have come from it. But the fact of the matter is, we're sitting here in our own little mobile recording studio having a conversation that was impossible a few years ago. And if somebody jumped into a time machine 100 years ago and saw us doing this right now, we'd be burned. We would be burned, man.
Totally.
Like, what have you done? And you know what? Maybe they're right to think that way, but maybe not. Maybe it's just all of it is what's, everything is a tool,
Bingo.
It's like if the whole, it's just a hammer. Everything's just a hammer. You're gonna build a house with it, or you're gonna knock some shit down. So I don't know. I know I'm the worst at answering questions because I'll just go on because of my past with drugs and alcohol, I sometimes go on these meandering conversations to just reel me in if I get too far.
No, honestly, that's the purpose of this. The whole premise of this podcast is to go into the deep and literally like free flow of consciousness and those ideas and whatever is flowing. That is part of the human experience.
Yeah, it's true. What are you grooving on right now? Like, what's lighting you up? Is there a book? Is there there some kind of thing you're making yourself do?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because like recently started a new musical project, so I still have Thy Will Be Done, and we've got new stuff that we're cooking. And actually, George Richter, he's he's mastering the Thy Will Be Done stuff. But
I love George.
George is the best. George is the producer of this podcast, so we work.
Oh, I love you, George. You're even better now.
And George and I started we have another project with, if you recall, on that tour we did together, my bass player, Eric.
Yep.
So Eric and George, who was doing front of house, the three of us have a project together. So we've been working on stuff that's a bit of a departure from like aggressive music. And it's more like fuzzy desert rock, stoner rock, alternative type vibes.
That stuff will never catch on, dude.
Nobody likes it.
Dude, yeah, come on, man.
So it's just been like
awesome. That
kind of stuff, listening to records from the 60s and 70s and pulling out stuff that just, wow, that inspires me. And so it's been a lot of that and a lot of just, I've always been into like esoteric wisdom and ancient civilizations. So that always keeps me going.
Boy, are we in the fucking golden years of finding out about all that stuff, man. I mean, stay away from TikTok, bro.
You're going down a rabbit hole.
Woo!
Right?
Like, fuck, dude.
The whole day will be gone. You'll realize the sun came up, sun went down, and all you did was watch some videos.
Yeah, man. Hey, what did you do today? I was doing research, bro. No, it's funny. What was I going to tell you? That's cool, man. I want to hear that. I can't wait to hear. Are you still playing with Chris too?
So no, Chris actually is in a
Okay.
new band. So Chris had left the band, and in
That I saw. I thought I did remember. Sorry.
yeah, 2013 he left the band, and so then he didn't do anything for a little while. He joined up with our friends up in Japan for a bit, and then did some solo stuff, and now he's in a new band doing some like kind of stoner rock type stuff that he just joined like a couple months ago. So he's doing awesome, married, healthy, happy. So it's been great. Yeah,
Awesome. Love that guy.
yeah,
Love
same.
and all you guys are great dudes, and I miss you. We had a lot of fun on that tour.
Oh, yeah, we did
Mm.
a lot of laughs.
A lot of yeah. Considering I wasn't allowed to have any like fun,
Right,
I
right,
had a
right.
lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
I remember
no,
you.
you guys made it fun.
Ah, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, gosh, sharing the bus and the late night, some of the late night ridiculousness was just
They're called shenanigans.
shenanigans. Yeah,
Shenanigans. Hey,
man.
easy fellas, easy with the shenanigans.
I'm telling you, there was a lot of shenanigans happening on the bus.
Rock.
Rocker.
Um, but well, dude, I can't wait. What's the name of this new band that you got? What's the new one?
It's called. Well, first time public ever talking about it. It's going to be on this podcast.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh.
So it's called Piscean Black.
Ooh, I'm already scared.
I'm scared.
Yeah. No, I like it, man. I like it. That's cool.
Yeah,
I want to hear it.
I'll have to send you some stuff and let me know what you're digging. We've got some tunes brewing, and honestly, Eric is a riff machine. So he's been writing a lot on guitar. And Eric actually just we were just talking the other day, and he's got even more stuff. So it's like he riffs. So I sing, play some guitar. George is playing drums and producing it, mixing it, engineering, doing the wizardry.
I can't wait to hear it. You guys all rock, so I can't wait to hear it. That's super cool.
Wow.
And I'm like excited because it's different than what you do with Thy Will Be Done. So because it's like that's the funny thing. It's like I don't know if this was how you experienced it, but at the beginning of the pandemic for me, and I hate talking about the pandemic, by the way, but it's just for the sake of time and efficiency,
Sure.
it paints a picture. So I had been working with my pops for a while, and we did a country record in Nashville, and it was very well received, although it was released during the lockdowns. It did really well. Now, at that time, I had felt, well, I guess I've played my last show. I think I may be done. Like maybe this whole music thing is kind of not coming back because it was sort of the first thing to go and kind of the last thing to really start up again. And if I'm honest, it only now feels like it's finally back. Like this summer feels like the first real summer where everybody's playing festivals, everybody's out, everybody that's anybody is fucking out there, and good, thank God.
Yeah,
fucking people, we all need it. Everybody needs it, it'd be nice not to pay as much, but we all need it. But the thing is that I thought I was done. I really did. I was like, and I'm not done in an angry way, like done in like a, hey, this is kind of where life is now. I'm at that part of, I'm getting to be that age where, 22-year-old me wouldn't think I'm all that fucking cool. But if I'm honest, 22-year-old me was kind of a prick anyway. So fuck what he thinks, right? But the point is that how do I continue to be creative when I don't feel like there's a point, And I remembered is that this was never really about anybody else. It was always not selfishly about me, but more, this was the way I would, playing the guitar and writing songs and singing and practicing, whatever. That was out of a love and a need to express what I couldn't, or didn't even realize I needed to express. I mean, in all honesty, I was making music before I knew, years before I knew why I was. It sort of over time, I realized, well, I'm not in this for the chicks and I'm not in this for the money.
Right.
And I mean, at one time, I kind of, I didn't mind the drug part, but but in all seriousness, like I was always looking to connect with something greater than myself through music. And I was just a fan like anybody else. Didn't matter where I came from. I just love music, genuinely. Like I am grateful that I came from the generation that saw music as like water. Like you need it. You know, maybe that's changed and that's okay. That's totally fine. People are on to different things now. It's all good. But the point is that I was like, all right, cool, man. Maybe it's done, And then one of my collaborators for a lot of my life, a friend of mine from high school, by the name of Brett Cosmo Thorngren, and he passed away in October of, I think it's 2021 now. I don't even, I can't, whatever it was. Maybe it was 20. Anyway, it's one of my best friends. It's a little bit hard. I don't even really know exactly what day he died because this is too much for me. I know it was in October. And when we lost him, and it was sadly, he I don't want to get too deep into it, but he's gone, right? He shouldn't be gone. He's gone. I tried to help him. I couldn't help him. I did everything I could for years to help this guy, and I loved him like my own brother. And I lost him. And when I lost him, he had been one of my collaborators for many years and one of the most talented human beings that I'd ever known, hands down. And I kind of realized when I ran into my old buddy, Gill, from, you may know from a band called Endo from early 2000s. And Gill and I have been buds for a long time, and we were real tight with Brett. And Gill had made, tons of music with him as well. And we reconnected at his funeral up in Georgia. And it's funny, Gill was like, hey, you want to write some songs or, get together and just hang out and, maybe write something for Brett. And honestly, I was so pissed off. I was like, and I was still hurt, and I didn't really know how to come to terms with it yet. And I was kind of like, nah, man, I'm good. Like, I don't want to start ripping open the wounds and pouring stuff in and rubbing it around. Like I'm, I need time. And I thought about it and I'm like, what's it going to hurt? Whatever, just get together, fucking riff around. Maybe there's an idea or two and whatever, it's fun. And, Gil comes over and he's like, hey, what about if I invite my buddy JP to play drums? You can grab somebody to play bass or whatever. And I was like, oh man, like, let's not make it a thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, now I got a band, band practice.
Man, like, where's this going? And so I grabbed my bud Kenny Cordova to play bass. We just got together for a few days on and off just to see if there was any vibe at all. A month later, there was 30 something ideas of and interestingly enough, like at first, when you get together, it's like, okay, let's play some punk rock. Okay, let's get a little bit deeper. Let's try to play something super heavy. Let's try to play something that has a little bit more melodic information. And let's focus on the groove. Let's, get out of that. Let's use a keyboard. Like just slowly but surely kind of undoing the songs to a point where it was like, what do these need? Forget what we want to do. What do the songs want? And all of a sudden, I called my buddy Warren Riker and I was like, hey man. And I mean, Warren's literally like probably my best friend, one of my best friends in the world. And I'm like, dude, I think I have a new band. And he's like, really? I mean, he knew we were jamming and stuff, but I'm like, I think I want to make a record, and I hadn't done anything like that in quite a few years. I'm embarrassed to say, it had been probably 5 years, 4 years, something like that. I'm not counting stuff I've done with my dad. I should say.
Sure.
So it was like, all right, well, let's do this. And man, for the first time in my life, I've had an experience of making a record that I'd always wanted, which was like, there's no limitations on creativity, but no matter what it has to be that the song is awesome now. It doesn't matter how fast anybody can play anything or how it's like the best ideas have to win. And this has to be mature. You know what I mean? Like I'd always wanted to be in a band that had sort of, and by no means am I comparing myself, but it's just my influences.
Sure.
Okay. I'd always wanted to be in a band that kind of had the ability to be as heavy as, Pink Floyd or Mastodon or, like real musical heaviness. Zeppelin,
Yes.
Sabbath, that kind of heaviness where it's really still about the song and there's space, right? But the melodic energy of like Tears for Fears.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? Or even like The Cure. Like not like to be gothy for the sake of goth's sake. Like, which is very important because it's not self-loathing goth. It's more just like we're talking about real shit. So the energy of the music is going to align with sort of where we're coming from. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's weird because I'm actually becoming more of a poppy hard rock musician in my older years, which I never thought would have happened. But I guess if you take a kid who grew up around the Bee Gees and then you shake everything squeaky clean off of him through his teenage years, and then in his 20s, he's a degenerate. And then he's in all these metal bands and people are fucking terrified of him, right? And then you throw him back into the frying pan he came from so he can learn some stuff finally. And then now what I've ended up with is a band called Kill the Robot, which really came out of music, out of a need to make music for the love of the music I grew up with, the music me and my friend grew up with, who's no longer with us, and not necessarily, by no means is there any stealing from any of the bands that I'm influenced by, but you can hear what we're trying to sort of help the listener remember a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's my hope, is that we're trying to help people remember that it can still be like this. It can still be simple and sophisticated and pure, and you can still feel feelings while you're listening to music. It doesn't have to be background music for while you're while you're studying or any, doing whatever else people do. There's music for that too. This is music that begs you to at least come inside and take the ride with us, and because that's what I grew up on. It was like, hey, Stevie, go over there in the corner. There's a vinyl player and some headphones or, a little thing or whatever. Just go over there and listen to the music, and I know that sounds really simple and childish, and it should, because that's kind of what it should be anyway. Like I don't go to concerts to feel 50, and I don't fucking play them to feel 50. I do everything I do because there's a feeling that I got when I was like 14, and I never want that feeling to go away.
Yes.
Like, you can take everything else, but don't take that away from me, man. Because that never hurt anybody. It's just excitement. It's just love. It's just passion, real passion. And I love music, man. And what's my favorite thing about being the age that I am now is that I don't give a shit if anybody likes it or not.
Exactly.
Like for the longest time, it was like, oh my God, are all the cool people going to think my new band is cool enough? It's like, dude, first of all, nobody cares. Second of all, do what you do, make yourself happy. If you're happy, the people that need it, that want it, they'll come along. They'll figure it out somehow. I've never um, I've never felt so free to just be like, hey guys, guess what? I love pop music and I love metal and I love Ministry and I love music. I love fucking Bach. I love John Coltrane. I love Oscar. There's just so many things I love. Why do I have to? Why do I have to do one thing? Why can't I just sort of let everything blend into its own little world? Like, I'm not interested in writing a blues song, but I sure would love to write a blues song that you don't know is a blues song. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
like that.
I like, you know what I mean? I like, it's like nowadays, like kids, my son's generation, whatever, everything's about games, and you know what? If I'm honest, it was the same when we were young.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure something else out. We were trying to figure out Rubik's cubes and rock songs and riffs.
Right.
And why does that work that way? And why does, when he sings up high like that, but the guitars are over here and the bass is doing this, why does that work? I want to figure that out.
Right.
Like, get inside the fucking DNA of that. And like, so the obsession never leaves. It just becomes better at focusing, I think, for me as I get older. It's like I now know if I'm wasting my time on something. Whereas in the past, I would just go and go and go until I hated everything. And then it's like, what's the point? This is supposed to be fun, man, So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a trip to be this excited about music for me. Like, I'm genuinely excited for your new music and everybody else's fucking new shit, because you know what? There's a lot of really great shit out there.
Yep.
That's not from 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. There's great people doing great shit. And just it's kind of like, just because the noise is noisy doesn't mean you shouldn't look for the things in between the noise. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Like, for me, it's like, oh, well, there's a lot going on. I don't really want to know what's happening in music right now, because my tastes are changing and everything's different now. Not really. You listen to the new Queens of the Stone Age just came out.
Right.
Fucking killer. Oh, I'm sorry. Are they too old too? Are they not cool enough?
Right.
What the fuck, man? It's wild. The internet has been the greatest, worst thing to happen to music, but it's not different than anything else. Like, the movie industry is starting to feel it now too.
Yes.
It's like, oh, there's no more theaters. It's like, yeah, we remember that.
Hi, we've been living that life for a long time.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
I'm over here now.
Yeah, come on over here with us. We're still complaining.
Right. Exactly. It's so funny you bring that up. It's so true. And I love the fact that, I can totally align when you get to that age where you're like, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It took me this entire time to get to this point to say, no, it's about, in an unselfish, non-egotistical way of saying, like, it's about what I create with my friends. It's a collaborative work ethic and put together into be a collaborative work effort. And it doesn't matter. Like you said, it's to the benefit of the song.
Yeah. And just because you love doing fun shit with your friends, like, that's,
yes,
like, it's okay for it to just be fun. You know what I mean? Like, I know that for a lot of us, and myself included, there's been times when, look, this is also how I feed my family. This is also how I do a bunch of other things. So it's not fucking bullshit. And I don't want anybody to think that it can be fucked with. However, the fact of the matter is like, I've even, there was a time years ago when I was in Crowbar And I love those guys. Like, I mean, I love Kirk as much today, if not more than I ever did. And he's been one of my best friends for over 20 years, you know? But there reaches a time when you're like, hey man, you're doing this without me now. Cause I'm changing and I don't
Yeah.
really know that I fit into your world anymore, but I fucking love you, you know? And the fact that like you can have like, you know, this is a business where you can have friendships that last for decades and decades. Or it can be a place where every time you show up somewhere, you know, you're the asshole. I've seen both.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen both sides of it. And, you know, it's not that hard to go through life just being a good dude. It really isn't. You know, it actually requires very little effort
Yep.
to just be a good person, a nice person. You know, there's a lot of some of the nicest, most beautiful people with some of the greatest stories I've ever heard are random people that just came to a show to see my band or somebody else's band and just felt the need to tell me some stuff or whatever. And it's like, man, some of those moments I've been carrying around with me for years. Like, just because that's what all this is about. It's about having fun and, you know, sort of transferring a frequency, you know, connecting with people in a way that doesn't require, you know, other means of communication. It's just like, we're here, man, you know, like we can go to Europe and speak in a different language and they're fucking there with it, you know,
Yep.
and they're like all about it. And, you know, same thing for me, you know, there's African musicians and Indian musicians and people that I follow that you know, respectfully, I'm not sure I could pronounce their name correctly, so I won't do it incorrectly. But their music is not in my language, and I feel every bit of it.
Yep.
I know exactly what they mean, even if I don't know exactly.
Sure.
I know what they're trying to send out to me and others. And to me, that is what is more high than that. You know, I mean, to me, it's the coolest. So
Yeah. It's
I'm, yeah,
divine.
I'd rather, yeah, it is. I mean, I'd rather do that badly than do something else,
Right.
if I'm honest, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's a great time to, you know, I'm an old punk rock at heart. You know what I mean? Like my first music was the Bee Gees, obviously, but then it was new wave and punk rock. You know, after Kiss,
Right.
then it was, you know, new wave punk rock, Van Halen. But always loved, especially British punk rock. That's because I was born over there, and I still share a lot of love. You know, obviously for the homeland. but but the thing is that um you know, we're in a time right now that's ripe for the best music because in the 80s, you know, like every decade has its shit and all the fucking all the best music comes out of that, you know, fuck the government, fuck this, fuck that. You know, you're not taking this, you're not taking that, we're not going to take it. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, whether you're, you know, a Rage Against the Machine fan or you're, you know, Sex Pistols fan or you're whatever, it's like, you know, the world's problems create great art.
Yeah.
So at the very least, you know, I think we should all at least show up for duty for that.
Mm.
You know, it's like, you know, because I always ask myself, like, well, how can I help? You know, I want to be helpful. And now there's so much misinformation, disinformation, and outright bullshit that you just sometimes it's just easier to do nothing.
Mm.
And sometimes it's even smarter to do nothing and just be like, well, I'm just going to wait because I just don't have enough fucking information yet, you know?
Right.
But it's, I wish I could do more, but the least I can do, the way I see it, is be creative and create music that either offers a message or an escape.
Mm.
You know, because there's one thing I've seen time and time again in every musical situation that I've been in is that um, for many people, this is how they get through things. You know, you see it when you look out at people and they're screaming the words at you. They got tears in their eyes. They're dancing. They're fucking woohooing and whatever. Like, you know, not everybody gets to do that. Not everybody gets to be. Everybody gets to be a part of it. You just got to show up. You know what I mean? But like, if you're one of us that can start these things and keep these things going and create gatherings where people come together and there's no bullshit and it doesn't matter what you do because we're all here for this. It doesn't matter what you're about or what you're not about, or we're here for this, you know. And music's one of the only places you're going to find that, and I think that's always been the case, and that I think hopefully always will be, you know. And that's what scared me about when things were really shutting down during the pandemic is like, you know, people need to be together and do that.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's, you know, we all go on Instagram or whatever and you see like, you know, there's some tribe somewhere and somebody's got a boombox and they're all dancing around. It's like, yo, people need this shit, man. All right. This is how we get through this stuff. So, you know, I would just implore anybody, if you're creative, fucking create, man. Because I held on to stuff for years because I thought it wasn't good enough, or because, you know, maybe it's not the right time, or I had other ideas about what I might like to do or not like to do, or I was worried about how things would be perceived. It's all bullshit. It's like, I'm just, you know, this album that I'm working on right now, you know, the next track, Drug, is coming out at the end of the month. And we're doing that kind of slow drip right now because we don't have a lot of social media followers. We're a new band. It's not an easy place to be in 2023, you know. I'm you know, white middle-aged guy in a rock band. You know, I'm not exactly at the top of what's fucking cool right now. But I will say this. I made a great record that I'm proud of. And I just, you know, I'm gonna put it out there. People dig it, great. If they don't, come tell me why you don't dig it. I'm happy to hear any of it. Like honestly, I'm just happy to hear from people because I think, you know, I would personally like, because I don't like to spend a lot of time on social media personally.
Mm-hmm.
I would like for that time to be productive if I choose to, you know? So it's like I do my best to respond to people as much as I can. I you know, I'm not even the best texter, you know, like I sometimes, one of the downsides of, you know, being sober after years of not being sober is that I forget shit a lot, you know what I mean? But like with I noticed, like for me, you know, I like to interact with people, you know. Not everybody, it's not everybody's thing. I do like people very much, and I do want to see people do well. I do think that, you know, there could be more etiquette involved sometimes, but generally speaking, I think the world is turning into a better place. I think that
Mm.
people are afraid and people are reacting in crazy ways right now to crazy things. You know, myself included. I have my moments, but I really do think we're in a kind of a new. There is a new dawn. Not to quote the Crowbar song, but there is a new dawn, and I do feel that we are a part of it. You know, I think that we're going to be the old guys that people are going to talk to someday about things.
Right.
You know, because because hopefully we'll remember some things. You
Yeah.
know, the way things used to be, because things are changing so fast. You know, but things have always changed fast. They just change faster,
Right.
and that's not a bad thing. It's just something that needs to be, you know, all of us need to pay attention to what's changing and why. Is my thing. It's just like, hey man, I get it. If you're mad because the fucking world's different now, fuck yeah, I get it. But you're gonna be more mad if you're not paying attention. I think I find myself sometimes pay too much attention and I get too mad. But What am I paying attention to? What is, where's my energy going?
Right.
That's critical. It's I like to say I'm looking for the solution, or I'm trying to convince myself I'm in the solution somehow. Somehow
Right.
can I be in it, even if that's just through some deep breathing, or some meditation, or it's hard nowadays to make it's hard to start doing things that require patience.
Ah.
Right. like I don't know about you, I see it with a lot of kids now. It's like there are kids that find music or they find their thing and they get obsessed with it. That's great. And then these other lots of kids that just really don't find anything because there's too many things.
Yeah.
There's just too many. There's just too many things. I want to do this and I want to do that. And when we were younger, it was great because you had like 5 options. You could be,
right.
you know what I mean? You could be a cop.
Right.
You could be an astronaut. You could be a doctor,
a firefighter,
a lawyer, a firefighter. Oh, maybe a few more. You could be a rock star.
Yeah.
Did I say astronaut? No, but it's like now it's crazy, man. You see like kids just like, I'm going to do this, and this. And some of them do it. And it's wild because they're like, yeah, I do like 5 things really well and I'm making money and I'm 22. And you're like, wow, that's incredible. But I didn't grow up that way. I grew up and it was just like, fucking Pete can throw a fucking football like nobody's business.
Right.
And that was all he did. I played guitar, or Joey surfs. He just surfs.
Right.
Surfs. And when he's done surfing, he goes surfing. It's kind of how we were. It's a different world.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's so true. And you're right. Like it felt like we had less options. And now with the advent of the internet, best worst thing that could happen. But now to go back to something you said earlier, I do like to feel as though it is a tool, just like a hammer. You can destroy things or you can create things with it. And it's up to us to choose what kind of energy we want to put into this world and what kind of energy we feed within ourselves that then feeds the rest of the world around us.
Yeah. And it's tough, man, because when the world gets crazy, people get desperate. People start doing things they know they shouldn't, or they know they might know better. They might be like, whatever, but fuck them, because shit's getting weird. And it's like it's an interesting time to be alive, Jay. Because it's my belief that there are very few accidents. You know what I mean? Like, even when things are bad, you go, well, I don't know. Like, I'll speak for myself. In my life, some very bad things have happened. Some very painful events have taken place. And events that I wasn't sure I would and probably shouldn't have lived through even. Okay? And the fact is that what I was looking for, or what I thought, or what I needed as opposed to what I wanted, was on the other side of those events. And I don't know that there was a way to get to those places within myself without some form of adequate suffering, so that the ego could kind of bring itself back into a place where it's teachable again. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm an eternal student, dude. I don't know anything. Like, one of the, I don't know, one of the things that I learned through a lot of reading of all kinds of books, esoteric stuff, it's like, but at the end of the day, the kingdom of God is within you, like whatever's right inside of you is what this is, mm-hmm. And if I'm quiet enough, I know everything. And that's not an egotistical I know everything. It's an I know everything and I know nothing. And it's totally cool that they're both the same thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's like when bad shit goes down. I had a friend of mine got really sick not that long ago, and I thought I was going to lose him, and I sat in his hospital room there, and I remembered that I could meditate and I could pray. Like something reminded me, like, you can meditate for him, you can pray for him if you want. And I'm not like, this is not Christian talk or any religious talk or whatever. It was just like really a spiritual moment, like where it was like, you can pray for him, even if you don't believe in that, or you can meditate and just try to surround him with the energy of love and of healing. And so I did that instead of getting on my phone or whatever. And I was just like, I'm going to sit here with my friend right now, and I'm going to feel this with him. I'm just going to allow myself to feel what he's feeling, or try to come close to being in this with him for a second, so that maybe I can help him just with pure love, and not selfishly, not, I was there for him. And I found that those moments, like when people need you, for most of us, many times it can be like, hey man, I need to talk, or I need a ride or whatever. And we all do. I do this, where I'm like, I don't have time, or it's not a good time, or I don't want to get heavy right now, or I don't want to this, that, and it's like, that's that energy of resistance that the ego creates in me. And then I just go, hey, yeah, what's up, dude? What's going on? And then by the end of the conversation, they feel better and I feel better. So I didn't want to do that. It wasn't even me that didn't want to do that. It's the bullshitter in here that just goes like, you're busy. You got this, you got that, you got to, it's like this, old asshole guy that just kind of hangs out by, you don't want to do that, fucking asshole,
Yeah.
Because, and I don't even know why that's in there. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I've had a voice, not to say I'm crazy, but there's a metaphorical voice inside my head most of my life. Right? I mean, at least there's for a good long stretch of time, there was definitely one in there that told me that I sucked daily. Turns out at the time he wasn't wrong either, but at the same time, it's like, if you get used to hearing that message,
Bingo.
you get used to that, and that becomes your default setting of how you see the world. That's not good. That takes training to get that out of there, man.
Yes.
It takes years of training, and it's not passive training. It's active, and it's like, stuff like that, like just knowing yourself. Right? That's stuff that's important to me. Like, how can I be helpful in any way out there in the world, or, to my children, or to my wife, or whomever? How do I do that if I'm not okay? That's not selfish. That's putting the oxygen mask on yourself first and being like, all right, I'm okay. So what do you got? Bring it. You know what I mean? And so, like, for me, life is like, I just wake up and it's like, okay, how am I going to get through today? I don't look at, I have friends. They're like, what's your 5-year plan? What are you doing? What are you doing next? What's happening fucking September 26th? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Cause I'm fucking, for many years of my life, I lived in the future and the past simultaneously, and the depression was about the past, and the anxiety was about my future. And I was never in the present moment, not at all. And so, of course, I couldn't create anything worth a shit or feel good about myself. I was running from me. It's like, this is the world that I had to exist in to get to a point now where I'm like, oh, it's not that complicated. Oh, cool. Like, I always thought everything was like super complicated. It's only as complicated as I want it to be, or I allow it,
Right.
Like, I'm not really in charge anyway. It's like, I'm just kind of like I'm kind of like the guy that's in charge of like this ship, but like, I know there's I know there's guys above me, and they're all just kind of going like, yeah, just keep going that way. Okay, don't make any other big adjustments. You're not that smart yet. Just keep going this way. Okay, I'm going to keep doing that. You know, like that's what life is for me at this point. It's like make sure the ship sails, make sure the sails are clean and everything is tied off correctly, and we have enough food and water. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, what's common? We'll find it. It'll
Right.
find us. Whatever. You know.
If we have to, we adjust the sails.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, yeah, we're blessed in that. At least, I mean, I'll just speak for myself. Like you know, I had a near death experience a number of years ago, and what's interesting about near death experiences is they never let you forget them if you're lucky, and that after that experience, every single morning since then, or at least every single day, but at some point in the day, but it's usually when I wake up in the morning, I remember that I wasn't supposed to be here this long. Like there was a very clear road elsewhere that was already sort of being marked off for me. So um, I don't really get to live. I don't really get to live comfortably with anger anymore because I'm too fucking happy that I'm still here. So it's like no matter what happens, I'm just like, yeah, okay, but I'm here and I really try. Like I'm not just here like, you know, jumping on a ship that's already sailing. Like I'm here, dude. I'm doing this fucking thing. As hard as anybody can do it without hurting themselves or others. So, you know, like I just love life, man. I really do. The options suck. You know, the other options
Yeah.
are shit. So
Amen to
you
that.
got to be happy, you know?
Oh, I love
And if
that.
music's what makes you happy, great. If watching fake politics on TV makes you happy, I don't know how,
Just same.
but have fun, you know. But you know, it's like, hey, you know, I have friends though they can watch 100,000 fucking football games and it's never enough. It's not me, you know. I like football.
Sure.
I enjoy elite athletics on any given day. You know, it's human fucking performance is mind blowing. However, you know, I get it. If somebody doesn't want to listen to music obsessively, that's cool. Just because I do it doesn't matter. It's my thing, right? You know what I mean? It's our thing. But we all have many things, and that's the difference now is that there's so many things. It's like we just get to choose if we want to do music,
Right.
and be a part of that. Because the good news with options is that, you know, the people that aren't for real, they'll find other things to do. They'll just naturally be like, oh yeah, it was fun, you know, but you know, now now I paint cars. Now I do whatever, you know, people get hung up on all kinds of stuff. There's nothing wrong with it,
Right.
you know.
It's
But
true.
I don't even. I'm just talking. I just say stop, Steve, because
No.
otherwise it's a
No.
it's a faucet.
No, that's what this is all about. It's all about the human experience, man. It's just the journey, and I love you know, I think even from the very first moment I met you, it was just this instantaneous knowing and resonating with an individual that, you know, you meet somebody and you're like, all right, this person, this soul, this being, like I resonate with this person and this being. And I think, you know, fast forward, here we are having this conversation now. And I don't think that we'd be having this conversation if there wasn't something that we both felt innate, like that's a solid dude right there, you know?
Oh, definitely. Well, we had an instant. You know, it just it's like that clicking thing when you just click with certain people. You know, and
Yeah.
as I'm sure you know, you can go on tour with lots of people or be in whatever situations in life. where you're working, and you'd be like, that guy's cool, this guy, fuck that guy, whatever. Like, that's just life. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
right.
gonna stay away from him. He's a bit,
Right.
But but I've been very blessed in that most of the tours I've been on have been really with really great people, like
Mm-hmm.
almost entirely. And that's not to say that some people don't have bad days, but like I'm lucky in that I still talk to everybody that I've worked with over the years, because they're worth talking to, man.
Bingo.
Like it's like, and even if we just text, I mean, I have certain friends I've known for over 20 years. We text constantly. Even sometimes we just communicate via meme. Doesn't matter. Still love each other.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And every once in a while you pick up the phone, you're like, hey, just wanted to make sure you knew it was still me, because, I've had my kids sending you memes for the last 2 months, but it's great, man. We're blessed in that. We're really blessed.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been very fortunate. The community of, the genres that blend and the people that we've met, again, I'll speak for myself, but I think it's pretty relative, is like, especially for the aggressive music that, we've been a part of, the absolute kind, loving, compassionate, empathetic people that are in that wheelhouse.
Fucking hardcore people are the
Wicked
best.
had.
No, but it's true though, man. I mean, it's like, it really is. It's fucking beautiful, beautiful people, that I'm blessed to call my friends,
Right
we
on.
all are. But no, man, it's funny. Like, how you're old? Well, this is how I knew I'm old. Is let me put it. It's a little bit different, maybe for me. Because how old are you now?
44 this year.
Yeah. I remember you're about 5 years or so younger than me. So exactly. So I'm going to be 50 in December.
Right on.
I say that with pride because this bottle's already 25 years overdue. No, but my son, the other day, he's 17. He's telling me that him and his friends, they're going to this place, Surf Coma or some shit, and it's like there's like a scene there, and I'm like, what do you mean there's a scene? Like, there's a scene and I don't know about the scene. And it was very clear within like a minute of him telling me about the scene that, yeah, old fucker, you don't know about the scene. And there's a fucking scene and you ain't in it. And I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. Like, I got so happy. Like, I was like, oh, there's a scene. Yes. It's gonna keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything, at least, I mean, I don't know about up there, but down here, because there really isn't, there wasn't the, I mean, it was a really good scene for a while.
Right. Yeah.
But it's gotten less and less because it's, Miami has become a lot more about kind of douchey flex culture. And do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of become like a place where people that you don't want to hang out with all want to hang out together in. If you know what I mean. So I don't go out much. And a lot of people like me don't go out very much. But you know what that does? That just makes you stay home and be creative. So it doesn't fucking matter anyway. But there wasn't really a scene to participate in for a few years. So it was like, all right, well, when I'm home, I guess I'm not in anything. I'm just home, But anyway, my point is that I was very, very grateful to hear that, people are doing stuff. Kids are doing stuff. Kids are starting things. They're starting scenes. They're starting spots. They're when their friends are playing, they're actually showing up and supporting them.
Oh.
Like, I mean, like, dude, it doesn't get any better or more pure. And even if you leave the scene when you go to college or whatever you do with your life, you're never going to forget that.
Bingo.
Like, I'm sorry that it's never going to be, hanging out on fucking TikTok ain't ever going to be as cool as that. So I hope kids find that and enjoy that. It's the best.
Yep. Yeah.
It really is, man.
and that's why it was scary during that time when, there was this like, these, just the idea of social distancing. It just was such a bum out because, going to shows and meeting new people, making friends, like that's all I knew. And I felt like that's like the most human thing that we've done through millennia is just, collectives, people together and creating their own village, their own vibe, their own tribe,
Yeah.
however.
Well, no, but dude, we're tribal.
Yeah.
We are that. It's
Mm-hmm.
not, and it's got nothing to do with your race or whatever. It's got nothing to do with any of that shit. We're just, as human beings, we're attracted to people that are interested and resonating around the same frequencies of things. It's just, it's not what everybody thinks it is, man. You know what I mean? It's really energy. It's like,
Yes.
I mean, like I can't even tell you how many times people ask me, young, like when I meet younger guys or guys who are trying to get into music business or whatever, and they're like, "Man, what's the secret?" And I'm like, "Man, just be the most fun and do your fucking job, whatever that is. Like if that's like if your job is to play the bass, fucking play the shit out of that thing, but make sure you're playing the song, playing it like you invented it because you did." Like whatever your thing is, like just do your job really good. You don't have to be the best at it. You have to be the best at being you. Like just be good at that and have fun and be a fucking good hang because there's a lot of people, you know, in young, that I've met throughout that, man, they had it all. They could play circles around dudes and they could write great tunes,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe they weren't really that fun to hang out with, or maybe they were a little uptight, or maybe, their ego was a little bit out of proportion to, to situations, whatever. It's like, you know, whenever somebody says something like, "Oh, I don't understand, I don't understand why that guy hasn't made it," or my buddy that I know over here, like it's like, well, dude, there's probably like a list of reasons, and none of them are judgmentally like negative. The dude's a bad person, but it's just like it's there's more to life than just one thing. Like you you have to be you have to be a certain level of comfortable in your own skin to do something and then do it in front of people.
Right.
There's a lot of people that do it and don't do it in front of people because they can't. It's too much for them. They're they're not built that way. But you put them in a room with a microphone and they will blow your fucking mind if they're all by themselves. That's not a bad thing. It's just a different thing.
Bingo.
You know? And look, there are a whole bunch of people that don't give a shit about a lot of things and just go out there and have fun. And some people might say it's garbage, but there's 20,000 people going, I like it. Like I'll never understand a Taylor Swift fan. That doesn't mean it doesn't mean I don't understand them. I understand what it means to be a fan.
Sure.
I don't understand what they're getting out of her music, but I'm not supposed to. I'm not I'm not operating on that frequency, and I'm sure Miss Swift is not worried about me liking her music.
Right.
She's making it for the people and for herself. She's making it for herself, but she's making it so that her fans feel good about something, and she makes her fans feel good. Like I said, I can't name a song because it's never resonated with me, but so what? You
Right.
know, it's there's room for everybody, and there's every different flavor. There really is. Like, you know, like it's just this music thing. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a very complicated thing if you let it get
Yeah.
that way.
If you let it, right.
Yeah.
If you get pulled into the politics of things that exist in everything, yeah, it could
Yeah.
it could it could turn sour. I mean, again, even, you know, whether it's the the temptations out there, whether it's substance or whether it's of the flesh. There is so much out there that can derail people and keep people lulled and away from where they were originally headed,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I mean, it's what I'm most concerned with nowadays, and I do a lot of work with Music Cares,
Mm,
uh, specifically with mental health and addiction, because what we're seeing in this post-pandemic world, people are not really fully. Hmm, I don't think people are really prepared for how much worse it can get uh, when it comes to mental health specifically. Like, you know, I don't live in California anymore. I have a lot of friends that do, and I hear a lot of really sad things about what's going on there with homelessness and and I have lost a lot of people in the last few years, and I don't I say this with being fully sensitive to the fact that there are people that have lost people to COVID. I did not lose anybody to COVID, but I have lost way too many people to addiction and mental health that has been untreated. So, like I said, it's not a political statement. What I'm saying is that the real, I think, as humans, loving, as far as love thy neighbor, all that kind of good golden rule stuff. It's like, man, we have a lot to atone for in what we've done with mental health as a species. Like, you know, because you and I both know, there's probably someone somewhere who may be referred to as being on the spectrum, you know. Yet that person might cure cancer. That person may figure out 0 point energy and a way to give it to everyone, and the bad guys still make money. Who knows? Like, like I mean, I'm just saying, like, we
yeah.
we really don't know anything about the human mind or spirit. Like, what we know is a drop in the
Oh,
ocean
right.
compared to what we don't know. And those are the kind of conversations I'm super curious about, man. It's like, I've been curious about those types of things for as long as I can remember, and I mean, it probably started with horror films and ghost stories as a kid and science fiction, I mean, even stuff like The Amazing Spider-Man, the fact that there could be a guy that maybe got bit by a spider, you know what I mean? Like, whoa, he's half spider. I mean, hey, they probably got one of those somewhere now,
Right.
but we haven't seen him yet, thank
Right.
God. But I'm just saying, like, this is kind of the world we live in, and I've always had I've been curious about the things that people tell you shouldn't be curious about.
Mm,
It's like I'm such a, for lack of a better term, I can be so rebellious at times. Like, the worst thing you can tell me is don't do something, or don't pay attention to that. Like, come here, baby. It's the worst thing you can do. For me, because I
right.
will be like, oh, really? I'm fucking going right over right now, and I'm gonna do it.
Where's the red
And
button? Let
part
me
of bro,
touch it.
but I mean, like, I swear to God, like, part of getting old, for me, growing up and becoming an adult, has just been getting better at not pushing the button.
Ah,
Just being like, oh, yeah, like being in a conversation with somebody, and you know something, and part of you even likes to think that you already are right, so you really want to tell them because you're right, or you can just listen, let them finish their whole statement, take it in, even if they're right and you don't want them to be. But shit, you know, we walk away from these kinds of things. I do a lot, in the past, and it's like, now You know, because I'm always trying to figure out how we can communicate better as a people. Like, you know, how can a trans person and a person that's like me, like a regular straight white male, sweetie, come here. Like, why can't we sit down and have a conversation where you can educate me about things and I can educate you about things without being insulting or unkind, or how come, why can't, you know, uh, you know, uh, my friend who doesn't believe in vaccines wants to talk, he's willing to talk to somebody that is for them.
Sure.
They don't want to talk to him. It's like, why can't anybody talk about it? Like, is this really where we are now?
No, we shouldn't be. But yet,
Yeah,
you're right. There's that polarization, which is another reason why, like, that was one of the motivators for starting the podcast. George was the one who said, I feel like there's a way that people could come together and have open conversations. And, I am friends with people from all walks of life and people with completely different ideologies, but I'm friendly and loving of each and every one of them. And yet, I can bring them together. What, let's talk.
yeah. Like, it's actually really doable,
It is.
And I mean, it's one of the things why I get I get frustrated with certain systems. We don't have to get into it, but it's like, man, like when you watch C-SPAN and they're like, oh, your time's almost up. It's like, you're kind of talking about something important.
Right.
Maybe I don't know. Give them another minute.
Right.
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
I kind of want to hear the end of this.
Yeah, then you'll see certain people, like on podcasts or whatever, and they get to actually speak for a long time, and then it's like, oh wow.
Well, it's interesting because like I had Paul on. Paul's been on the show.
Oh, Masvidal.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the best.
The best. The best.
Yeah. Speaking of aliens.
Yeah.
No. He's the best. He's my bud.
Absolutely, man. Oh, yeah. It's like it's great when like you can just have a good conversation and just talk about, the things that people think about and then just kind of have a conversation. And there's probably other people out there who think about it, but don't really get to converse with anybody about it,
Yeah. Did you know Paul before you talked to him?
No, I never knew him personally. And obviously love the work, just the bodies of work that he's put out is just, absolutely awesome. So
he's a freak. He really is, in the best possible way.
Right on.
Just a genius musician. And wonderful, wonderful human being.
Yeah, we definitely built a bond after that conversation. It was like this, like instant, like, okay, yep.
Well, it's funny because when I saw that you guys had spoken, I was like, oh, that's perfect. Like right off, like immediately, I was like, oh, I'm sure that's epic. So I was like, all right, I'll go listen to that.
Yeah,
because it's like hanging out with my buddies. Great,
so awesome. That's why I'm excited for like when Atomic Haze came out. It was like I was so pumped with all, like you said, there was like the slow drip, and then when it finally was like, all right, I get to hear the song. It was like, oh, dude, like what a trip, man.
Oh man, I'm really glad you dug it. I really, because it's been really nice because I haven't really released anything in a while, and so you kind of wonder, like, do people give a crap or whatever, or, is it even going to be well received? Because I was very much waiting for, like, the shithead comments and and you know what, everybody's been digging on it, and so I'm super stoked because it's probably the weirdest track on the record. It's probably like the most unpredictable, but I could be wrong. I mean, sometimes we get so close to our own work, we don't know anymore, man. It's just like, just let it live and have its own experience, like kind of like a child. Like, just because I think my kid's the coolest doesn't mean everybody else does.
Right. Yeah. Like they've got some choice words for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand. I love him. I love him, but why don't anybody like him?
He's so special and unique.
Uh,
It's like, well,
we all knew those kids when we were growing up whose mommy was like, oh, why don't you guys let him play with you?
right.
You know,
Well,
because
then
you, mom, you're always around the mom. So,
you're making things worse.
yeah. Oh, dude, that reminds me. The other day, I was just thinking about wasn't it? Because I was watching Family Guy the other day, just randomly. I haven't watched it in a while. And didn't you have a drummer? Wasn't it your drummer that used to do the fucking Peter Griffin like
Yes.
to a T, like oh
That
my
was,
god,
that
dude.
was our drummer Bob, Maximum Bob.
Maximum Bob, get some balls, make some calls. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And it was so funny because I hadn't actually thought about him in a minute. And I was watching Family Guy the other day. I swear to you, his face popped up into my head while I was watching. And I started cracking up. I was like, oh my God, where is that guy?
Oh my God.
Tell him I said, hey.
I will.
To talk to him.
Yeah, I was just on the phone with him probably 2 nights ago.
Maximum Bob. Fuck you.
Who you on the phone with? Just my girlfriend.
Yeah, totally.
oh man.
Oh yeah, top shelf cat. Oh, dude.
Oh man.
Oh,
yeah. Bob's a trip. He still, he still does the Peter Griffin. So every now and then I'll get a random voice message from him.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh,
so good.
That's awesome.
Dude, so what are you grooving on right now? What are you listening to that's fucking kicking your ass?
Sleep Token. I'm digging the new Sleep Token a lot. Yep. Digging, obviously, no joke. Digging the Atomic Haze, waiting for the drug.
Everybody's waiting on the drugs, boy.
Give me the fire. I'm waiting on the damn drug.
Yeah. No, the drug. I'll say it here. It's coming the 30th of this month.
Nice.
And yeah, man, it's kind of like I don't know. It's like if Lana Del Rey had a metal band. That's kind of what it's sort of like that. Like that's kind of what we were we weren't actually trying to do anything. We were just writing. And then started vibing on it. It was like, yeah, it kind of feels like that, kind of like if she would get down with a rock band. And yeah, man, it's like, it's funny. Like, I'm sure you remember when we were kids, there was bands like The Outfield or when I was a kid, there was bands like The Outfield. You might be a little bit younger, but, there was bands with like big poppy tunes, but they were rock bands, what I mean? Yeah. And at the time, the heavy meter was different. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like back then Rush was heavy, so, it's like, it was a different time, but I just, like there's something about the 80s, the fun of the 80s, like it was just kind of, it didn't matter. You could just have fun.
Right.
Music could just be fun. Didn't always have to be heavy. It didn't always have to be thought provoking, but it would be really great if it was fun. If maybe, if it made you, hey, this is a great song to dance to. This is a great song to, fast dance to, or whatever, like there was songs for everything. But there was something I really loved about the kind of the MTV era of pop with, the Tears for Fears, Echo and the Bunnymen, a lot of new wave stuff.
Yep.
A lot, just British new wave and pop, Human League, Gary Newman.
Yes.
Even fucking Eurythmics, like whatever. I I love all that kind of stuff. I really, really do. And I love Peter Gabriel and Genesis and like just really masterfully crafted pop songs that are just they're all that stuff's the shit that's still around today.
Exactly.
There's stuff from 2000 and even parts of the 90s that didn't really last.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we thought maybe it would, but it didn't. But there's certain things like, and I think it's because they were fun. It's like certain types of 90s R&B is stuck around because it was innocent. It was just, I want to love you. I want to go to the thing. We're going to dance. We're going to do the thing. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It wasn't so fucking complicated and like, oh, and if it's like back then everybody was like so stuck to their genre. Like, I only like punk rock or I only like death metal or, I only like this. And I would always be like, that's the dumbest thing in the world.
Right.
Like, I only like death metal now. Like tomorrow I might like grindcore more. Or I might like, you know what I mean? Like I just might like, no, I don't, dude, I don't listen to Rat anymore. It's like, the fuck I don't. I love Rat.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't
so
care.
good.
I love Cinderella.
Oh.
I also fucking love Celtic Frost. I also love Merciful Fate. So it's like, dude, I've never been in that weird thing where people are like, I don't, oh, you can't like Peter Gabriel and Sabbath. It's like, I do. I love that shit. I love all of it. And I can sit there and nerd out on any of it any day of the week. And like, I would say I've dedicated half my life to just trying to understand what people have created because I love it so much. Like, if not even to be able to do it myself, but just to understand what it took for them to do it, because it's infinitely fascinating to me. Like the way a painter would, if there was footage of Picasso just practicing, you would watch it for hours. You would watch him just practice and be like, I don't know what he's doing, but I want to understand that, or at least understand it enough so that I can somehow be a better student, which ultimately makes me a better teacher or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But like, yeah, I don't know. Oh, sweetie, come here, babe. Yeah, I don't do a lot of things passively anymore.
No.
Like I like her. She's annoying me right now because I'm trying to be actively engaged with you. She's a dog, so you know what I mean. I love her, but like I really like if I'm with my kids, I want to be with them. Like if I find myself being on the phone, I'm annoyed with myself. Like, no, get off your phone, go hang out with your kid, or go, go teach yourself something, or go fucking grow something in the backyard, like whatever. Like I'm going through a whole thing right now. I used to make fun of people that used to grow stuff, because like I thought that's what old people did. They hung out in their gardens because that's what my grandpa did. And by the way, he's the coolest guy I've ever known in my entire life. But he loved gardening, and I always thought to myself, oh, he's an old guy, so they like to garden. Well, it turns out human beings like gardening because it produces food. You know what I mean? And like now I'm at a point in my life where I looking at my backyard, I'm like, oh, I gotta take better care of you. I lost my mango tree. Now I gotta take care. It's like, this is the stuff I think about now, not like, the new sleep token, which by the way is awesome. It really is. It really, and I mean, I love everything they're doing musically. It's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
And it's definitely different, which I'm always a fan of. It's like when I don't know what's coming, there's an element of surprise. I'm always like, oh,
yeah,
okay, somebody's going in.
Yeah.
But I'm always fascinated. I think it's because I'm such a huge Kiss fan. How are they keeping it all under wraps?
That's what I'm saying,
All my
especially in this
all
day
my
and age.
friends, and nowadays, like if that was me, all my friends would be like, "No, it's really Steve." It wouldn't,
Right.
you know what I mean, or whatever. It'd be like,
Right.
"Thanks, guy. We've just been working on building this thing for years, and you just blew it. Whoa, whatever, dude. I mean, that's what I'm afraid of.
Right.
It's so funny,
Yeah, it's
But
impressive how they've stayed that enigmatic.
yeah, and they've also, I mean, this newest record, it's like they were. I mean, I knew who they were before, but they took this massive leap out of nowhere.
Right.
I don't know how they got this. I would, for lack of a better term, bump. I haven't seen anybody get in a while,
For real.
which is really something to see because it's not that common anymore.
Right.
Sorry, the dog's at it again.
No worries. Yeah, I found that most impressive too, because you're right. I haven't seen anything like that in quite some time where like this band, that's been around, but all of a sudden this new album comes out and everyone's catching on to it and it's just getting bigger. It's wild.
Yeah. Well, it's like, dude, I remember when Ghost first came out, right?
Right.
And Kirk Winstein was like, "Brah, come check it out, Ghost. I'm into it." Luna, come here, baby. I think, him and I sit there and listen to the record a couple times all the way through together. And I was like, man, I love it. It's like Blue Oyster Cult meets something else. I don't know what it is. It's just rad. I loved it. And I think now, like, they went from being like Blue Oyster Cult to now they're ABBA.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But with like next level, I mean, the musicianship, these guys all kick ass, all killer musicians, and it's heavy. Like it kind of has like, I really dug them hooking up with Joe Elliott from Def Leppard just because I think, I still think he's arguably one of the greatest of all time. I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap, but Def Leppard was like the third show I ever went to in my life, and I fucking
still a phenomenal band.
They absolutely are. And but I was just like, oh my God, dude, it's happening. Like the 80s thing is coming back where people just want to have fun again. It's like, like Ghost represents that. It's an escape for people. Like they can just Sleep Token represents that, where it's an escape. It's like, no, come over here and hang out with us. We're not even going to tell you who we are.
Enjoy it for the music.
Yeah.
The aesthetic.
Just come here. Just enjoy the vibe
Amen.
of this because we're going to give you a good bit of it for an hour or so. And that's what we want, man. Everybody wants to be fucking entertained. That's what this is. It's like, sometimes like I'm like, oh, it's all about the music. And yeah, it is. But like, like there's some bands I like to go see because I know they're just about the music and I can just sit there and nerd out on it. There's some bands like, dude, I want to see you fucking do somersaults, bro. I want to see you jump off the fucking drum riser. Like all that stuff it's part of it, and then some guys get too old and you can't do that shit anymore. But it's still a show.
Right.
It's like I don't know if you're familiar with Tommy Emmanuel, who is probably the world's greatest guitar player.
Okay.
And he's a gentleman from Australia, and he plays acoustic guitar by himself, and he kind of slaps the guitar and all. But he arguably one of the greatest, in my opinion. And he said something to me once. He was just like, Steve, don't forget, it's the fun business, And here's a guy that goes out there and does it by himself every night to fans all over the world and does it every day. He's an absolute hero to me. But he is always smiling. He's there to entertain you. And when there's a sad part of the song, he's feeling it with you. When there's a joyful part of the song, he's feeling it with you. And like that's what people want, man. They just want to connect with you. It's like social media works to a degree, but there still is no substitute for going out there. And even if that person up there on that stage can't see you, you are there together in the energy of that room, participating in something together. There's an exchange going on of energy between people. It's still the greatest thing in the world. To me, it's still the greatest. I hope I just hope that I don't ever lose my hearing.
Oh,
You know,
oh
I
man.
haven't done the right things to protect it.
Me
Okay,
neither.
so I'm not saying I have. And my pops he's got hearing aids, and I think my mom too now. It's part of getting old, but I'm like, I don't ever want to lose that thing where I can, so I'm hoping, whether it be with stem cells or, I don't know, maybe if somebody pours ayahuasca in your ear, I mean, who knows? I'm just saying. I'm just
I
saying.
see
I
a
don't want to lose my
jaguar,
hearing.
and now I can hear.
Yes, I hear a jaguar.
I hear the jaguar, but I see
No, I
the
mean,
jaguar. Right.
but you know what I'm saying? It's like, whatever it's going to be, man. I'm probably going to have to try it
Sure.
because I want to be able to have my hearing. If I have to keep anything, I want that.
Yeah. I've definitely not taken care of my hearing the way I should have, especially for a long time. And like I have a touch of tinnitus, and it's not the best. It's not terrible, but when it stops, like when it goes away, that's when I like really notice a difference. And it's like, oh, it's just weird. And
Yeah.
then it creeps up on me again and then starts up again. So it's challenging, but you make
Well,
do.
dude, it can be crazy. The thing is we're surrounded by so much, noise anyway
Right.
in the modern era, whether it's sirens or bugs outside in the tree. Like there's noises. But I was in an art installation a few days ago. I went to go check this thing out down here called Super Blue, and it's very kind of psychedelic kind of installations and whatever. But one of the rooms you walk into kind of has that, I forget the name of it. It's a certain type of acoustics room where it's like really quiet, where you can you can hear your heartbeat.
Gotcha. Oof.
And I walked in and I was like, at first I was just listening to my heartbeat, and then I was like, ooh, I think I can hear fluids moving in my body. Like I was like, what? Like I'm a relatively experienced meditator at this point. I never ever had an experience like that where I was just like, and there was a light that they were showing. Now, mind you, this is stone cold sober, and there's this color of like a sort of pinkish color on a screen, or what looks to be a screen, and eventually you don't see anything. It's just white, and nothing's changed. It's just optical illusions, but you're literally in the illusion.
Whoa.
And I'm just like, so I was in another room a second ago with a completely different experience of my internal self and my external environment. And all I had to do was walk into this room, and like literally I could have walked into a freaking portal. Like I was like, dude, are we able to get out of here? Like it was almost like that. Like it was so weird and discombobulating just to have your senses manipulated without doing anything. Like and then when you experience things like that, it kind of makes you realize how susceptible we are to so many other things in our environment. It's like, oh, I see. So every environment that I walk into, there's an effect on me. There's probably a cellular, something energetically, electrically that's happening when you walk into certain spaces or places. And there's other things that are of the ineffable that are happening that we don't really see or understand. But that doesn't mean they're not happening.
Right.
And I think some of the hardest things about being so interested in some of this kind of stuff is that you can begin to see how easy it is to lose your mind. Yet maybe losing your mind is the best thing that'll ever happen to you. You know, like it's kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier. It's like I wouldn't be who I am without the mistakes. Some of them I had to make so many times to realize they were mistakes. Like way more times than most people should have to make a mistake. Yeah, I'm happy, Jay. You know what I mean? Like actually the other day somebody actually said to me, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm happy." And I meant it. Like I wasn't telling myself a fucking affirmation or something. Like I was like, I'm great, man. Like and it's like, and I realized that, that's my response most of the time because it's true. And it's true because I got out of the way.
Ah,
Because I'm great because I didn't do anything, man. Like there's a whole bunch of shit I didn't do. I didn't do anything to deserve how I feel. This is my natural state of being. It's not something I have to wake myself up and convince myself about. I used to wake up. Shit, I had an injury so bad a couple years ago. I used to wake up every day. The first thing out of my mouth was "fuck."
hmm.
How am I going to get through today? Fuck. Really, really. Again, I'm going to crawl to the bathroom. Okay, sure. These things happen. But dude, I'm really happy. Like really, really happy, joyful. And there's a lot of ways to get there, man. You don't have to fucking create chaos and survive it to get there, right?
Right.
You know,
I love that. And I think that's
you
so
know,
important because, you had said something a little bit earlier, about, maybe we have to go through these, my words, going through trials, tribulations. But, I always loved the quote. I think it was like Point Break. It was probably a Swayze line. It was like, it's where you
it better
lose.
be.
It better be a Swayze line. It's like when he's talking about surfing to Keanu, he was like, you lose yourself and you find yourself. And that's it. It's what I'm realizing as I get up there. I've been working on the wizard look for a long time. My dad has the
It's
ultimate.
perfect.
Yeah. Working on it. Getting there.
You should acknowledge perfection when you see it, son. No. No, man. I mean, yeah. Go ahead. You were. I didn't
Oh
know you
yeah,
said it.
no, it's yeah, just it's like you said, man. That's why I can align with you on so many of the things that you've been sharing. It's I think a lot of people feel those ways and those things and uh those ideas. I think that the uniqueness comes in because however all of this works, however consciousness works, is it some unified consciousness experiencing itself through every iteration throughout time and space, and so therefore you are me and I am you, and just different iterations of its experience, what
Yeah.
was and what is to come and everything in between.
Have you ever? I mean, I don't recall if you got into this with anybody else on this podcast, but have you had any experiences with any like plant medicine
I
type things?
haven't, but yet I've
Because
had
it's a very popular. It's becoming a very popular place
yeah,
for people to, or it's a modality really of the
yes.
way people are, using it to heal and stuff. And there's some incredible stuff that's definitely happening for people. You
I've had
know,
several guests now, actually about three now, have either run retreats doing ayahuasca or
uh-huh.
have, definitely indulged or did, had ceremonies, several ceremonies, and talk about their journeys and just revealing themselves to themselves and how life changing it was for them.
Yeah, no, it's um, yeah. I mean, I tend to keep my my personal spiritual practices are pretty personal, you
As
know.
they should be.
But I do think, because for a very long time I was kind of like a hardline, sort of 12-step guy,
Mhm.
who was not open minded to things that I would refer to as mind altering in the past being mind, or even something greater than that, spiritually, energetically healing,
Right.
and I was somebody who did a lot of drugs in my specifically in my late teens and my 20s. I did a rather, shall we say, devastating cocktail of substances that really excluded nothing. Um,
Mhm.
I was, and I suffered with that for a very long time, until my early 30s, and as a result of some of the damage I'd done to my own brain, I was on medication for years, and I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I was on uh, like antidepressants and stuff like that. But it was the goal was to try to get me to feel good enough so that I could stay sober long enough so that
Mm.
I could begin to learn what feeling good felt like, because I didn't know, because I had completely destroyed my dopamine levels and serotonin in my brain. So I was trying to rebuild my brain, uh, with the help of professionals, and I did that to great effect. I mean, I stayed sober, and then eventually I got off the meds that I was on. But I realized I was kind of like always like a low grade kind of depressed.
Mm.
This is even pre COVID or any of that shit. I was just like, I'm just kind of, I'm also kind of a dark guy,
Mm.
like I just realized that it's like, I don't always look at things back then anyway. I wouldn't have told you, oh, I'm doing great. I would have just been like, yeah, it's like just kind of how I was back then. But I uh, uh, I ran into a friend of mine, a number of years ago, about 5 years ago, and he was doing so good. And I was like, and I had gotten back on medication again, and because I definitely have struggled with ADHD for a lot of my life. And it's evidenced by this podcast. But I, uh, I was like, I got to do something, but I had done everything already. Like I'm one of those guys. Like I've tried, every different kind of healing modality and everything else that was legal, and acupuncture, and you know, you know. I mean, if I'm not to say that I'll fall for anything, but if somebody says, "Hey, I had a really powerful experience with something," I'll at least take a look
Sure.
at it. And I remember like people were starting to talk about microdosing psilocybin, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. I always liked mushrooms, but I had no desire to like them again. You know what I mean? Um, and I really wanted to get off my ADD meds, and I decided to try it. I did a microdose for 3 months on and off, and I think that shit saved my life. And it just made me better, and I didn't want other things afterwards. I was like, okay, this is good. I wasn't getting loaded. I was just like, oh wow, I'm having a nice day today. And then even when I didn't take it, I still felt good. And that little voice in my head that's not that nice, it got smaller. So, my hope is that things like that can take precedence. So, as far as being legal,
Right.
for people to try anywhere, because I think it can help a lot of people that other things can't help. Not to say it's a magic bullet, because I don't think there is one, but I think if something can be magic enough to bring you back into yourself, that's a place you can start doing some deep work from. Like you can actually, from a place of, because some people take some years to learn how to meditate because they don't realize it's just breathing. Like Like people like to make it really complicated at first. It's like, oh, it's spiritual practice. And it's like, no, don't sell it like that. Just say, hey, we're going to do some breathing. Trick them. You know what I mean? Let's do a deep breath in. Now hold that breath. Now deep breath out. You know what I mean? Like, don't complicate it. They're not there yet.
Right.
You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
let's just get them into remembering we need this. We got to breathe in and out, in and out.
Right.
A lot. Get in touch with what that feels like. How does that feel? Not, oh, I want to talk to Jesus or whatever. Like, that's not what this is about. Like, if you'll get to a stage eventually where you're so good at breathing that leads you to be having more experiences of being in the present moment. Without judgment. Just because you have thoughts when you meditate doesn't mean you're not meditating. Like you got kicked out. Nobody's kicking you out of breathing, dude, except for you.
Right.
And once you begin to just have a little bit of self-awareness, you can also, if you can learn self-awareness, then you can learn presence. That's it. It's not more difficult. And if there is a plant that grows out of the ground that you can eat that can slow you down enough within your own spirit to begin to understand that everything is connected and that you got to do your part. You exhale, the tree inhales. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. Like that's the stuff that really I find interesting now. Is like, like how do we heal, man? Like nobody's in trouble. Nobody's getting grounded. Let's just have a conversation. How can we heal? It's like we're not going to get anywhere screaming at each other. I've never seen anybody change a single fucking mind that way. And so it's, that's kind of, one of these days, Jay, I'll write a book.
And quite a book it will be, let me tell you.
I keep saying that, but it's like, a few people might have to die first. I'm kidding.
Dude, I know I joke around sometimes and I'm like, yeah, I got to write a book, but like there's certain chapters I got to leave out. Like,
yeah, well, those are the best parts.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's like when they go to make the Hollywood version of your life and they're like, nah, we're just going to focus on this overdose scene. And you're like, wait, no, that's not the story.
You're missing the point.
No.
You cast him to play me?
Yeah, oh my God.
Well, he's an up and comer. Gotta have him playing you. Let me tell you.
I told you Harry Styles are nothing.
Right. Yes. Oh, it's so true, man. Oh,
yeah.
But I love that. I love that. It is full circle, and I think that question and why it's so important to start this podcast, at least, is because I always feel like we're always in this state of becoming, right? We're never this concrete block. It's this breath that's just moving and flowing through time. And then that's who we are. We're always changing and moving and growing. And that's the beauty of it. That is the I am.
Yeah, man. Have you ever seen the documentary I Am?
I have not.
I think it was made by that guy Tom Shadyac, who I believe directed Liar Liar and Bruce Almighty.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend it. It's really good. It's really good.
Okay.
He's an interesting cat. I won't ruin it for you. It's great. You'll love it.
Nice.
He also, I think he has a book called Life's Operating Manual, which I think you'd also appreciate.
All right. Love the recommendations. Heck yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been trying to read more lately,
Hmm.
and it's been challenging because I've always read a lot, but I see how my brain gets trained into like reading, bite-sized things now. It's
Sure.
like because of the way we consume stuff, and just thumbing through life, as they say.
Right.
Um, and uh, and it's like, man, I forgot how much focus it takes to read. I mean, I'm reading every day. I'm doing it, but
Mhm.
it's like it's amazing. You take just a couple months off of like being invested in a good book, and I definitely operate differently when I'm reading or I'm carrying around a book and I'm making an effort to finish this book. Like this is important. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to be present for this whole thing. It's it's pretty strange how our brains have adapted to the tech.
Yeah.
Like it's a very different experience to read on your phone or on your Kindle than it is to read a book. I don't know why, but it's very different. Is not retained. I don't retain things the same way. I don't ingest or perceive. It's like there's something about paper,
Yeah.
and it's it's like this is like such an old guy conversation, but yeah, it really it's I don't know why it's different. It just is, man. Like
There's something to be said about that tactile, like just holding a book, turning that page, and I guess the three dimension, that three dimensional
yeah, I don't know.
object. Yeah.
I
There's so much more involved.
maybe it's something too from like when we were, or at least for me when I was a kid. Like I remember when I used to read books, I used to think somebody typed this, somebody wrote this down before and then typed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it, it like the process was actually something I cared about early on. Like I
Mm.
found people that wrote to be more interesting. If they had something to say and they would write it down, like what kind, I would remember thinking as a kid, what kind of a person would write down their thoughts for other people to read them? Like I didn't, I was a kid. I didn't really know what I was really thinking about. But it's just funny because I notice when I read on my phone, I don't necessarily always read like it's a person.
Hmm.
I'm just reading. I just kind of read. And I don't like doing, like you said, earlier about doing things actively or passively. It's like I feel like when I read a book and it's paper, like I don't know why I still make that. It's just that maybe just from being, I started reading when I was a kid, and I make that connection to the author, and somebody went to the trouble to write this. And I don't know why I don't feel that way when I read on a phone or iPad or something. But it's just I don't know what that phenomenon is, but it's something I noticed just the other day. I was like, huh, okay, I guess I'll start buying more books again.
Right on.
You know,
I wonder
like
if there's something. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject.
not at all.
I wonder if there's something to be said that we will type text messages and emails, and we're reading these texts and these words that we've typed right then, right there, instantaneously. So there's this disconnect versus what if we wrote a book and we had our own book? It's a whole different experience. And so
Mm,
maybe we're so desensitized, and this is just for the sake of conjecture, are we so
yeah,
desensitized by typing out words on a screen ourselves that when we're reading them, they have less of an impact?
it might be. It's an interesting take and road to think about. Yeah.
Hmm. I don't know, but I
Yeah,
like
I mean, I
books.
think it is because yeah, I love books too, man, and it's like I feel a little bit guilty because I don't listen to a lot of vinyl, and I
Hmm.
and I want to. I don't have as much time to sit and take in whole records like I used to, and I miss that. I really do love that.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I don't. I listen to a ton of music, but again, it's like I try to make music not a passive thing, but sometimes it has to be. Sometimes I'm working out, and that's the only time I'm going to have to listen to something. but I am going to listen to it. I'll just be in the middle of doing something else, but
Right.
I will be listening. It's still not fully passive, but it's like I feel a responsibility as somebody who creates music to buy more vinyl, try to listen to more vinyl, read more books, because somebody like authors still get to write something and then they have something here. I wrote this, and they can hand it to you and you can take it away and enjoy it. And it's still a thing,
Right.
you know? And I imagine if you spent your whole life wishing you were an author, like me, I constantly threaten to write a book or books. And maybe I will someday. I haven't found a way for it to make sense for me yet. You know what I mean? I really want to believe what I have to say is worth writing down also, not just for the sake of telling a good story, although there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just like, I really want to, it would be a nice thing, I'd imagine, if you love books, because I do love books. Someday there's a book with your name on it and you wrote that book, even if it's not an autobiography. It's like, do you know Jeremy Wagner?
Yes.
Yeah. So Jeremy's a buddy of mine. He lives down the street.
No kidding.
He's written a bunch of fucking horror books.
Right.
And he just seems to spit them out and they're great. And I was just like, how do you do that, man? Like, that's so cool.
Right on.
And you get to be like, yeah, I also do this. And like, I'm always find that so interesting when people are good at more than one thing and they're able to like fully realize that thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And at the same time, they still have their other thing and they have their family. And like, people like that, it really impressed me because I have been fighting with my own mind most of my life.
Mm.
So it's like when I finish something, it's like, I got to really, whoa, I've been trying, for a while to finish that thing. But I guess that's how all creative people feel. It's like everything that looks like it took somebody a week to make it, they might have spent years on it.
Right.
It might be everything. Like they might have put everything they have into it. I hope they did.
But then there's those people who are just savants and they can just do something or anything, and it's just like, wow, you have the golden touch. Like, how do you do it?
Yeah.
I
hear you, man. I'm related to one of those. It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's like sometimes, I'll look at my pops and I'm like, wow, dude, like you're nuts. You're just nuts. You're the best kind of nuts. Like,
yeah.
And you know what? Like, sometimes, my wife will tell me like, well, you're a handful, and I'm like, well, what'd you expect? Look where I came from. You know what I mean? Like, I've never been bored a day in my life. And that's because for whatever reason, I'm infinitely curious and always interested in whatever could be going on anywhere. It's one of the things I love about touring is like, oh my God, we're in a new place.
Right.
Like everybody else just wants to hang out at the venue and fucking, whatever. Not me, man. I can't do that. If I get somewhere, I want to see what's happening here that I've never seen before.
Yes.
Even if it's just two dudes fighting down the street, I don't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Those are the best days sometimes on tour,
Yeah. That's like, what's interesting is because like on tour, like I'm basically TM, I'm driver and vocalist. So it's like, I don't get to enjoy as much. So, or at least for a long time I didn't. And so I'll never forget that day where like you and Derek we're in Chicago, I think. And like you and Derek will go into this restaurant. You're like, hey, why don't you come with us? And I'm like, finally, I get to go do something. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was like some like vegan Chicago restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. See, believe me, dude. I mean, I've done double, triple duty on multiple tours and I hear you, man. Though, like you might take home a few more dollars, you know what I mean? But you don't get to do as much stuff, it's a trade-off. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I mean, there's a lot of times that sometimes you're in places you don't want to do anything there.
fair.
And there's that
Just
too.
like,
You know, it's like, oh wait, where are we? And it's like I'm not gonna mention any
sure,
places or
right, right.
names, but you just kind of, oh,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
When
I'll
the
be
little
right here.
when the Little Caesars has bulletproof glass,
Yeah,
you're like, I'm
yeah,
good. I'm good.
yeah. And it's new.
Yeah,
It was just installed.
just install because the last one got destroyed.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. No, that's good times.
Oh,
Good times.
that's awesome.
But you know what, man? I mean, are you guys have any plans to go out on tour anytime soon, or are you just kind of
Right now, just put out the
chilling at home?
music. Yeah, at home, working. So we're kind of like in this like in between where like I don't know if you know, but when our new drummer came into the picture, he had been in the band for quite some time. He joined in 2009. In 2015, he actually had cardiac arrest and he was in a coma,
Oh,
came
geez.
out, and it was a
Whoa.
miracle. Yeah. So we took some time off after that, and so we've had some different lineup changes and things, but this record is like a third iteration of a record that we had started writing and then we scrapped and then made new stuff and then new guys came in, and so this really represents a lot. I lost my mom a year and a half ago, 2 years ago,
Oh,
and
brother,
it
I'm sorry.
uh, it's every day is just like such a interesting adventure to navigate without my best friend. And
Yeah.
so that goes into the music, and then like the friends that have I've lost, or friends that thankfully have survived, and I don't take any of it for granted. And we put it all into our music, and that's why I'm excited about this music. So if we don't get to tour as often, it's because we're living and working and doing those jobs you know that we've had. We've always been working class.
Dude, hey man, it's funny because I think sometimes people think because of where I come from, uh that it's different,
Mm,
and it's not, I mean, I have a very simple life, a nice I'm blessed in that I have a comfortable home. My AC works, which is critical down here.
yeah.
Um and I have some food in the fridge, and my dog is happy, my family is happy, life is good. Like, I don't want anything else. Like, I don't even know. Oh wow, I just had a heavy deja vu just now. We've been here before, buddy.
Wow.
Oh shit. Okay. Wow. But my point being is that um I don't know if Kill the Robot's going to tour, man. It's like when I talk to my buds, many mutual friends of ours as well, it's not getting easier out there.
No.
It's, like if the opportunity were presented and people, and obviously there was a demand to see a band like us, there's nothing I would enjoy more than bringing that to the people. It's not as easy as just saying you want to do it. There's a lot of factors, and everybody in my band is way past drinking age, so it's like we all have jobs and families and responsibilities, and like, this is our fun thing,
Right.
the music thing. It's like we do. It's like listening to Mike Tyson the other day. That quote that he said, he's like, discipline is doing what you hate like you love it. And that's how anything that is worth doing, there's a factor of some of that. You got to have discipline to do it. It's like there's a lot of years of practicing where you're not good at something and you just keep doing it anyway because you're going to love it. You're going to love it, you know, so just keep going, Um, and I think that's, in a way, the way the business has changed now, to where most of us have regular lives outside of it, except for those people in the top,
Sure.
which, I've seen what that looks like. And I have friends that are much, much more successful than I am. And the fact is that that's its own blessing and curse, you know. But
Mm,
I think that with the world being with the way it is now, like, you know, your band, my band, we can make whatever music we want.
right.
Nobody has to tell us how to do it, who's going to like it, who's not going to like it, how we should promote it. Like, sure, you can do stuff the way, oh, everybody does this now, and they do this because of Spotify, and they do that because it's like, that's cool. I might also do some shit that nobody does or nobody thinks is cool just because, well, maybe I don't give a fuck. But I do care about people hearing the music, and I do want people to hear it. I think that, um, you know, but I have to be honest, I really, for the first time in my life, I listen back to my music and I'm like, I really like what I've done.
Mm,
I'm proud of this, and not in a, you know, fucking check my band out, we're so fucking badass kind of like whatever. Like, it's like, no, man, the spirit of my friend who's not here anymore is in this thing that I made. Like, I did something I didn't want to do, but I knew I was going to love it.
mm,
Like, there was a whole bunch of stuff that was kind of in the way. And I did it anyway. So naturally, I'd love for people to hear it. But for me, like, even just the fact that I finished something matters. You know, like, I have started in the last 20 years, I've started 20, 30 different bands. None of them have ever, nothing's happened because of something, you know. I've also been in a lot of other bands, and I've also, you know, produced things and done all kinds of stuff. And it's like, you know, like, I don't walk around with my resume, you know, and it just is what it is. It's like, you know, like, I mean, my resume should say, like, should have been dead, but still here and apparently enjoying it. You know, like that's kind of the way I look at it sometimes
right on.
because, you know, like, even, you know, like, my good buddy, God rest his soul, Taylor Hawkins, you know, and he was a
Mm,
beautiful guy, beautiful, beautiful guy who wanted nothing more than to be there for his family and be around, and 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 he loved music the way I love music, you know, and he loved playing the way I love playing, and he loved getting out there, and he may have even loved it more than anybody I know, you know. And who am I to say? Like, you know, people go away. You know, we're not. This is not a permanent thing. Nobody ever told you were going to stay here. You know, so if you're here, fucking make it count, man. You know, that's what I try to do now. I mean, I was here for a long time, and and I took shit for granted at times, and I, you know, those are my regrets. Not, you know, you could regret some of the shit you've done, sure, Steve. You know, I would say, but I regret more of what I haven't done. I regret more of what I didn't allow myself to do because I didn't believe in myself at certain times in my life when it would have been easier. All I had to do was lie to myself, and I would have been fine because I was actually fine. Just couldn't believe it yet. You know, I don't know why people go down. You know, I don't know why life is a struggle. But I do know that when you overcome it and you get through it, life is the most beautiful thing there is. So then life must just be beautiful, and struggle is beautiful too because it's just a part of this thing. You know, I don't know. I mean, I get we are going deep, bud. I don't want to be accused of shallow conversation.
No, not at
Um,
all.
you know,
Not at
but
all.
I think that, you know, that for me, death has become it's become a hot topic.
Yeah.
I think about it a lot, not because I'm afraid of it, because I'm afraid I won't get enough out of life before I get to it. You know,
Yes.
not for me. You know, like, you know, when I had my near death experience, I was given a choice, and I'll never forget it. As long as I live, there was a voice, and it told me, you have a choice. You can go back, or you can come with us. It was plural, by the way, which I thought was interesting, And I said, no, I got to go back. I got to go back. I got kids. Not, I got records to make. I got asses to kick. I got money to make, money to spend. I got stuff to do. I'm a really important guy. None of that shit. Nothing. I'm a father and I have children. And those children need me. I'd like to think they do, I'd like to show up for them. Let me go back, And that's what happened. And I can't forget that every day. It's like, it's like people ask me what I do. It's like most of the time I hang out with my kids, my dog, and I play some guitar and most of the time I'm trying to make myself laugh or make my friends laugh. That's about, if I could get paid for anything next, I'd like to get paid for being a comedian because I tend to spend more time making me and my friends laugh, and we make us making each other laugh. Like that's what makes the world go round, bud.
And there you have it. I can't thank Steve enough for all his time and his energy and just sharing so much with us. Be sure to check out Steve's new band, Kill the Robot, a new contender for one of my new favorite bands that are out. You got to check out the song they have out right now called Atomic Haze. And Kill the Robot has a brand new single coming out June 30th called Drug. So be sure to check that out wherever you listen to music. And hey, support the arts. Support people who take time and create, and go buy that song if you can. And sure, after you buy it, stream it as often as you like. That's just my suggestion. But be sure to check out Kill the Robot and their new single, Drug, June 30th. We've got all the links below in the description. If you're watching this episode, we sure hope you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you can find out about the newest episodes being released bi-weekly. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much. Please take a moment and rate the episode. We are still a new podcast. So by you sharing this content, by you rating it, hitting like buttons and subscribe buttons, you're helping us reach more people. Once again, thanks to Steve, and thanks to each and every one of you. Until next time, take care of one another and keep thinking for yourself.